guests and visitors, my name is Jim Farmer and I am the president-elect, and I'd like to welcome you to the 44th meeting of the 49th year of the Dublin-Worthington Rotary Club. Next year, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary. The invocation and pledge of allegiance today will be offered by Al Wu.
If you pray with me. Creator of all times and places, we thank you for the gift of summertime, the days of light, warmth, and leisure. Thank you for the beauty that surrounds us everywhere we look. Flowers, the deep blue sky, and tranquil surfaces of lakes, and allow us to enjoy more time to spend with family and friends. We ask that you keep all in our Rotary family safe in their travels, and ask that you bless this food and all who have prepared it for our use. In your name, amen.
The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we have any visitors today other than our speaker, who will be introduced in a moment. I believe that is correct. Okay. Anyone with announcements, please make your way forward at this time. Do we have any announcements today? We've been really short on announcements the last couple of months. Will's got an announcement. Come on, man.
Better announcement. I don't know what words to say. I'm a shy person.
You were right.
Okay, I come on behalf of the NGSE. That's the committee that's bringing over 4 Romanians, July 2nd through the 5th. And we're still looking for a family, maybe 2, to host these people in the evening. Now, Romania is a fantastic country, as I've experienced it. We had some Romanians over here 4 or 5 years ago, and they speak English well. They're entrepreneurial, and in the Eastern European theater, they got a story to tell, because that's a country in history has been run over by Turkish people, by people from the Eastern theater. It's been really a stage for a lot of battlefield and takeovers. They're a very resilient first people. Now they're coming on July 4th, so we're gonna take them out to the Columbus on July 3rd. That's the July 4th weekend festive in Columbus. And then we'd like the host family maybe to take them to a Worthington festive that evening. And during the day, we'll have them in to parades and maybe a rah-rah type lunch, and have a Eastern theater part of Ohio State. They get to meet kids that are in from Hungary or Italy or Romania. What's it like when I came to America? What was your easy, what's your hardship things? And that's been often well received. So we're putting that together, but I do need a couple of chaperones, and I need a host or 2. I can put them up at a motel-like place, but I'd like to have them with a family in there. A lot of my standbys are on the road to Canada or to other cities, so all of a sudden my normal group of hosts are not available this particular holiday. So I'll be here after the meeting. I'd like you to stop by and say, hey, I'd like to meet a couple of Romanians, and we'll try to fit you in.
This group looks like it needs a little exercise, so if you're gonna be out of town this next weekend, this upcoming weekend for Father's Day, please stand up.
If you're gonna be out of town?
If you're gonna be out of town this weekend, stand up. Okay, now, keep standing, don't sit down, it's an exercise here for you. If you have already signed up to volunteer for the food booth at the Arts Festival, please stand up. Okay, Charlie?
Yes, sir.
Charlie's in charge of volunteers. If there's anybody that's sitting down, get their name and take it down. We have a shift for you. You didn't get to choose. We get to choose for you. So, all right, the rest of you can sit down now. Thank you. And now, of course, I'm the sergeant for the day. And so if you are still seated, you might as well get some money out. But first, we need somebody to carry the pot. And I think I'll pick on Mr. Sinkar. He's got his running shorts on, so he can get around, get all that. Okay, now before I ask for happy dollars and for acts of kindness, I need to tell you that today is National Loving Day. And the city of the day, of course, would be what? You guys are travelers. Oh, boy. Loving New Mexico. All right, so now you have the theme for the day, sort of. Happy dollars. Who's got a happy dollar? Or who's got an act of kindness they'd like to tell us about?
I have a happy dollar. I'd like to thank all the Rotarians who came to Joe's service. My cousin sat next to your table and she said, boy, those Rotarians, they really have a lot of fun, don't they? Sure. I said, did they misbehave? I said, no, we do have a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, and for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay, more happy dollars. What a sad bunch of people. Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to say that I'm so pleased, and so is my wife Aida. For many years, my grandchildren and my daughter from Germany have come to spend the summer with us. The kids are all graduated from college now, or just about, but they'll be coming again this summer, and we're really looking forward to having them with us.
Oh, good. Good.
Okay, oh, Ro, yes, Ro.
I'll probably have to put in more than $1 for this. So I'm hosting a cruise next October, and I did a cruise night a week ago Monday, and I already have 19 people signed up, so I'm very excited.
Everybody likes success.
Yeah.
There you go. There we go. All right, any more happy dollars?
I just wanted to say how happy I am to have Shirley back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are too. Very good. All right, grab your money. There's a $3 limit, even though it's Loving Day. Your treasurer's conflicted on that, so we need the money. Okay, it's also National Automotive Service Professionals Day. So of course, if you've ever had your oil changed in your car, please put in $1. It's also National Peanut Butter Cookie Day that you don't have to pay for because peanut butter cookies are just too good. So we'll leave that one lie. This is the day that several famous people were actually born. And one of those in 1915, even Court wasn't. So anyway, David Rockefeller was born this day. And of course, in his career, he was CEO of Chase Manhattan Bank. So if you have a bank account anywhere, put in $1. This is also the birth date of Anne Frank. Some of you might have read her book, or her diary, actually. You're allowed to read that person's diary. And She was born in 1929 and died in 1945. And so if you were alive during that period, you don't have to put in $1, but everybody else put in $1. And, oh, shoot, I've got, well, this is also the birthday of Jim Neighbors. Who was Jim Neighbors? Oh, you're so dang on smart, just put in $1.
Great singer.
Yeah, he's a great singer too, that's right. I forgot to get my, my jokes. You can't go without a joke. Oh, I wanted to recognize, because some of you will, really relate, I think. This was also the date of a famous, person who died on this day in 1957. And that was, Jimmy Dorsey. And, so, for you jazz lovers, it's a sad day. So sad you don't need to pay. Okay, this was a day of travel. I tried to get a little bit of travel in there. So, which US state is really famous for its extra small soft drinks? Minnesota.
On that note, our speaker today will be introduced by Lisa Frederica.
You? So there's a saying that you can't get out of paying your taxes in death, but you also can't get out of paying your electric bill. Sorry, this is so tall for me. I hope you can see me. I need a chair, I think. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Brian Zayer. I got my electric bill. I get it every month, obviously, but I don't really look at it. It's usually 140, 160 bucks. I just pay it, whatever, you gotta do it. However, this month I was shocked when my bill was over 200 bucks. And as I got into looking at it, I was looking at what I paid in transmission costs versus what I paid for kilowatt hours. Yes.
Take the microphone off and put up your mouth.
I can do that. How's that? Is that better? Yeah, I guess that is a lot easier on all of us, isn't it? Anyway, I was really shocked at what I was paying. And if you read, right, it's only going to get a little bit more expensive. There's a lot going on in the market now regarding solar and regarding electric vehicles and what the impact is on that on the grid. We also had a speaker just a couple weeks ago that was talking about some of the challenges we have in Columbus as it relates to our growth, and that we're going to have to figure out ways to deal with the grid with some of the companies that are coming in and the power that's producing. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring Brian in. Brian is the owner of BC Solar. I met him at a home and garden show. He is local to Worthington. He's raising his kids here. He's a wonderful person that I'm just so glad that we got to meet. And I thought it would be great to have him talk a little bit about what he's doing in the industry, what he's seeing, and then hopefully answer any questions that you have. So with that, Brian, I'll give the mic literally to you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yep.
Again, my name is Brian. I do live here in Worthington. My kids go to Evening Street. Got into solar. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. How's that?
Thank you, perfect.
About 5 years ago, I got into solar. I had an IT company, decided I wanted to try to put solar on my own house. Had a best friend that was an electrician, did it. Couldn't believe how well it worked. My best friend electrician then said, I have a customer that is interested in solar. So we went and took a look, decided we could do it, and put a business together. So the benefits of solar, you're gonna get a return on investment. You're gonna see national energy independence with it. It's gonna help nationally us get more energy independent. And we're gonna have grid independence with it. So the return on investment. Solar can reduce or eliminate your monthly electric bill. The way that the power companies bill you right now, that you kind of got onto, was they're gonna bill you for four things, actually. They're gonna bill you for distribution, transmission, and generation. And they're gonna have that one little pesky fourth one, which is just a connection surcharge. For you to be connected to the grid, they're gonna hit you with a $12 to $50 a month electric, or hit on that, and it depends on which electric company you're with. Solar can be put on your house in a way that it can, depending on the size of your roof, or if it's a ground mount and your electric bill, it can reduce or even eliminate that electric bill. Most of our customers are seeing a reduction of at least 95%. There are some that don't see that just because they don't have the room, but for the most part, you can get that down to almost nothing. It depends a little bit on your roof, the way you face. And of course, not every roof works for solar. If you have shade, shade's the enemy of the sun. If you have shade, if you have the new type of roofs, which are pitched all over, they're not a single flat surface. They've got all these little facets on them. Those can be hard to put solar on. But if we have a southern facing roof, we can see really good return on investment. As electric rates rise, the return gets better. When I first started this, our average return was 10 years. We would tell people, if you buy solar, it's gonna take you about 10 years to pay this off. Now we're seeing 7 years, and we've gotten one person down to 5.5 years. So it's gonna take them 5.5 years to pay off. And as that electric bill keeps going up and up, your return gets even quicker because you're not paying those more exorbitant electric fees. There is a federal tax credit of 30%, and that is a pure tax credit. So that is whatever federal income taxes you pay throughout the year, whether that's on a W-2, you pay it out all at the end of the year because you're a 1099. Whatever you paid back, they will return whatever that 30% of your entire system is. So if it's a $20,000 system, you're gonna get a $6,000 tax credit, and that is a check back straight from the government. Of course, you do need to pay federal taxes to get the tax credit. So if you're in a place where you're not paying taxes due to whatever reason, you won't see that tax credit. But otherwise, most of us are paying our taxes yearly. You're gonna see an improvement in property value. That's especially true in more mature areas, California, Arizona, Massachusetts. We're seeing the property value, or the value of the house itself increase by about 60% of what it costs to put the solar on. I don't know how that's gonna be in Columbus, just because your house could be on fire in this market and there's 10 people around the corner willing to buy it. So I don't know how much that's gonna help Columbus right now at this point. I've talked to real estate agents, and they don't have much data on it yet. The market here, the solar market, is so new to Columbus. We don't know what that initial, what that property value or that value in your house comes up. But the way I try to tell people to think about it is, if somebody was looking to buy your house and they were purely looking mortgage rate, they were saying, okay, we can spend $4,000 a month on a mortgage. Well, if all of a sudden you don't have an additional $300 a month in electric bill, well, in their mind, they might be able to say, well, we can now spend $4,300 a month. So that can add value to your house because they have more income to be able to spend on the house. Commercial properties get not only the 30% tax credit, but they get to an accelerated depreciation, and they can depreciate 85% of the total cost of the system. And that is 85% before the tax credit. So what's amazing is, since they're getting 30% on the tax credit, they're actually getting to depreciate even 15% that they did take on tax credit. So these commercial properties, they can see a 50% payment back from the federal government as far as a tax credit. So if they put in $100,000 system, it may only cost them $50,000 after the tax credit. And then with that, the commercial property, they now get to tout the fact that they are looking at a green environment, that they're helping the community, they're not polluting, they're producing their own power, stressing the grid less. And then on solar, I get this question a lot: what kind of maintenance is there? There's really none. In this market here, we get enough heavy rain that any dust, dirt, debris that gets on these solar panels gets washed off. Even that, those, they look like pterodactyl poop, the birds that poop that big purple crap all over the place, that will wash off. We just need a good hard rain. Places in the desert, it's a different story. They do need some maintenance because they have no way of getting that dust off of their roof. It just doesn't rain enough. But here, maintenance free, nothing you need to do. In the wintertime, we do get a little bit of snow. If snow covers your roof, I say just leave it there until it's gonna be a couple days, it'll be gone. It's not worth trying to scrape it off, falling, killing yourself. So the $10 in electric you would have saved by having the snow up there, just leave it, just call it $10 and that's it. And when the weather warms up, it'll melt right off. So national energy independence, what helps here is as we produce our own energy, locally produced energy, and we use that energy to run things like cars and other types of devices, we don't need to import the gasoline or the diesel if we can get our vehicles moving off gasoline or moving off electric that we would normally import from countries that may not be our allies. So we can become nationally more energy independent. And with that, solar reduces the need to use our precious fossil fuels. Fossil fuels have other uses. We use them in plastics, fertilizers, medicines. And if we were to use up our fossil fuels, we won't have we won't have them for that use. Fossil fuels have got us a long way. They have gotten us to where we are now. In a lot of ways, fossil fuels define how well your community is able to run. They save us the fossil fuels, the energy we get from fossil fuels have allowed us to grow large buildings and air conditioning. And hopefully in the future, we can alleviate some of that need from the fossil fuels. We'll still need them for other things. Grid independence. So as of right now, most solar systems that are installed on what they call a grid tied system. So what that means is the solar panels run to an inverter that takes that DC voltage, turns it into AC, and it runs your house during the day. When at nighttime, we then pull power back from the grid. But during the daytime, you may produce more power than your house needs. So you'll put your excess power back on the grid. The power company will keep track of that excess power and allow you to pull it back at night. The downfall of the grid tied setup is if you have a power outage at your house, whether it's a 5-minute, 5-day outage, your solar panels do you no good at that point. And they do that because what they don't want to happen is they don't want your solar panels to backfeed the grid. And then we have some poor linemen get up on the pole, touch the power and get electrocuted. So a grid tied system is your best bet for getting a quick return, but it's not always the best fit for you individually. So one of the things we can do is we can put a battery-based system in with the solar panels. What that will allow is if the grid were to shut down, whether that's for a minute, a month, whatever that time frame is, your power will stay on. And it's not like a generator where the power goes off for 15 seconds and then eventually turns back on. It's UPS grade cutover. It's instant. So all you'll see is maybe a quick dim of the lights, but all of your equipment stays on, your computer stay running, your TV stays on, and you may not even know that your neighborhood has just went dark. So, and in that cycle, what we'll see is at nighttime, we'll use your batteries. If the grid were out, we would use your batteries. And at daytime, the solar panels then, because they're able to work with your battery system, will then run the house and charge the batteries back up. So you get the cycle of daytime comes around, you charge the batteries, you run the house, and at nighttime, your batteries then continue to run your house. And that cycle becomes this perpetual cycle that we can use. Like I said, we can keep your house up for a few minutes, a few days, heaven forbid, a few months if something drastic happens. The other thing that batteries do help is net metering. In the state of Ohio right now, I said that every kilowatt excess during the day you put up in the grid, you can pull back. That is true with the big boys, with AEP, with AES, with the larger electric companies, but the co-ops don't have to don't have to do that. They're not bound by Ohio law to do that. So at that point, what they might do is they may, well, every kilowatt hour you put up, they say that's generation charges. And you can have the generation portion back, but the transmission does not come back with it. So now at that point, every kilowatt you put up, you maybe only pull back that kilowatt at half of its worth when you pull it back. So with batteries, what we can do is we continue that cycle that we run the batteries during the night, charge them during the day, and you only touch the grid if, for example, we have those days in January where the sun doesn't shine for a week. Then we'll use a little bit of the grid. And then any excess power you produce, even with the batteries during the day, the electric company will still count and keep and then give it back to you at that point. But again, with these smaller these smaller power companies, the co-ops, they won't give it back in an even distribution. What you put up is not what you get back. And then California has a new thing called net metering 3. And as we know, most things that happen in California eventually trickle through everywhere else. They have a thing where they're now charging for they're charging electric depending on the time of use. So at night, electric's cheap. In the morning, it rises. During the day, it drops back off because we have all this solar producing power. But then once you get home around that evening time, power prices shoot back up. The downfall with having solar at that point is you're not producing much power. So if we had the batteries in place, what we could tell the battery system to do is do not use power from the grid when it's expensive. So the batteries will kick in and will produce all the power for your home. And then you have the choice either at night, you can then pull from the grid to charge your batteries, or just wait till the next day when the sun's up and use the solar to do that. So when that net metering 3 comes to Ohio, and it will, I just don't know if that's next year or 20 years, batteries will have a payback. You'll be able to see some payback in that. The other thing that we're seeing is electric vehicles. They are awesome. I have one. I have a Rivian. I love it. But they're beating up the grid pretty bad. My Rivian uses as much power as my house. So that means my demand on the grid has now doubled because of this. So if everybody went out and got an electric car, I don't know where the power is coming from to run this. So that's where having solar will help, especially if you have solar with batteries, because then as we get these brownouts, these rolling brownouts, which surprisingly we had one, I think it was last summer, we had AEP tell people we're gonna have to drop portions of the city. And one of our customers was up in the Westerville area. It was technically Columbus, but in that Westerville area, they lost power for 4 days. Not because of a problem, just because AEP couldn't provide enough power to keep them running. So we're going to see more of that with these electric vehicles. And again, I love them. And electric vehicles one day could be the savior to the grid. If they build in a system where the power companies could ask your cars during peak times, could say, can I have some power back? Then these cars could be the savior to the grid. But as of right now, that does not exist. So these cars are really beating the grid up pretty bad. So some things to look out for in solar. The bad news, as in every industry, is there's good players and bad players. So a couple things to watch out for. The people that have door knockers come around in the neighborhoods. They're not all bad, but we found the majority of the companies that do the door knocking are just get second opinions. The salespeople don't work directly for the solar company. They are pure sales. They bounce around to different solar companies. And they run on something called a red line sales. And if you're not in the sales, what the red line is the solar company will say, we want our customer to pay $3 per watt for their solar system. So if they have a 1,000-watt solar system or a 10,000-watt solar system, it's 30 grand. Well, to the salesman, they go, anything you can sell over, that's yours. So the salesman, in this type of scenario, as much as they can get out of you, if they can make that minimum $30,000 sale, a $40,000 sale, they got $10,000 in their pocket. So just be wary of those companies that have the door knockers. Get a couple of estimates. If you're interested in solar, that's awesome. You may have a great house for it, but get a couple of estimates, talk to a couple companies. I personally think local companies generally are your best, and there are some good local companies beyond us in Columbus and even in Worthington. But get a couple of estimates out there and ask for references. Say, can I get a couple people? Can I get numbers to a couple people that you've done solar for? We've had some big companies come into the market and then do a whole bunch of crooked stuff and then go out of business. There's been a lot of that. So just be wary, as in with any other thing, big purchase you have, just be wary and pay attention. Okay, so here we have, just want to show you just a couple examples. This is a house actually in Upper Arlington. And this house, this has 9 kilowatts of solar. This is enough solar to supply all their power needs over the year. So in case of a grid outage, they have, this is their inverter. Their inverter will connect to a battery, connects to batteries, and will keep them up and running. This gentleman has an elevator in his house because he's had a stroke about 20 years ago. And we can even keep his elevator up and running in case of a power outage. The system will sell excess power back to the grid when the batteries are full, and he gets to keep that, he gets to bank that money. He is on AEP, so he doesn't cycle his batteries because he gets 1-to-1 selling to buying back. So his batteries are just there, just in case that grid drops. And what was funny with him, I got a call from, or actually I was watching his system, and we got an alert that his battery is getting low. I called him and I said, I could see that he was just using power like crazy. He had ovens on. I mean, he was just going nuts. And I called him and I said, Tim, your batteries are running low. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, you need to turn some stuff off. You're going crazy. He said, I don't know what you're saying. And I said, your power's out. He goes, it is? I said, it's been out for 7 hours. I said, your whole neighborhood's out. He said, I had no idea. So the system is really interesting in the fact that it kicks in so quickly that most people don't know. And this can be good also, yes.
Why didn't he know? Isn't there an alert system?
Well, it does. So on his phone, he got an alert, but he didn't pay attention. So with this particular inverter company, there is an alarm on it. They are building in a system that it will beep when it's off, and then you can shut that beep off so that they know. But that is actually one of the big problems we've had with this. It goes out, and if people aren't paying attention to their phone, don't see the pop-up, they don't know their power's out. This is just another example. This is a barn dominium. So this is, they're getting pretty popular now, barns that people live in. This was a gentleman that actually is from Dublin that decided he wanted to have a place out towards London. So he built this weekend getaway for himself. And he was interested in it because his thought was, if we ever have a major issue, he has a place to get out to, that if we ever have a huge grid disaster, he can go there, his freezers will be running. The biggest issue we had with him is he enjoyed it so much that he moved there and sold his house in Dublin. So we had to go and add more panels because we went from being a place that's going to be used on the weekends to he has a hot tub, he's running air conditioning, he's added air conditioning units, he's added on. So type of system we're seeing here. But what's neat about these systems is we don't just run 1 or 2 things in your house. We don't say we're going to keep these 3 or 4 outlets up. We keep the entire house up. When the power does go down, maybe if the grid's been out for a few days, maybe be cautious. Maybe don't use your air conditioning, or don't run the oven, or don't run electric heaters as much as maybe normal, but you have the ability to do all that. So you're able to track your power usage and go, okay, I'm gonna back off a little bit. The grid's down, my batteries are draining a little bit. The other thing with solar, just to keep track of, is you need to make sure that whoever's doing your solar, we've had some companies come in and do it and not pull permits, and it's a mess. They come in, they do the work, they don't pull permits, they leave, and the next thing you know, the homeowner's getting called by the city, what's going on? There's a lot of safety equipment in solar. So we put these little devices behind every panel, and what those do is they cut off the power in case of a fire. So if a fireman gets on your roof and has to hack through something, we don't want those firemen electrocuted. These devices kill the power at every single panel, so those firemen will never see anything above 40 volts. They could lick the wires if they want, like tickle, but it's not gonna hurt them. We also have to make sure that we label everything. You wanna make sure everything's labeled well, because we don't want an electrician following us up and getting killed because they didn't realize the systems are still energized when they cut the electrical power. So always make sure that whoever's doing your solar, just look at it, see, does it make sense? Could this kill somebody? Is it labeled in the way that people are gonna know solar's here? This is just another example of a house. So houses can be small or big. This particular house, they built a barn, faced it directly south, just so we could put panels on it. This is a very inefficient house. They had about a $700 a month electric bill that we cut out completely. And this was $700 3 years ago. So now it's well over $1,000 electric bill, or it would have been. And then we buried wire from all the way over, and we were able to power their house from the new barn that they built. And then I wanted to show you this just so you can see how solar panels are installed. When they go on a shingled roof, we actually put these are the devices that hold it down. And what they do is they go up underneath the shingle. It's like a piece of, it's aluminum flashing that goes up underneath. So it's so well designed that we have never had a roof leak. On all the jobs we've ever done, we've never had to come back and fix a roof leak. Basically, where we connect them down, they become metal shingles in those spots where we connect them underneath.
Question,
Yes.
so we're 10 years into a 25-year roof and you put that on, and then I need to replace the roof because of hail damage. What happens?
Okay, so the good news about hail damage, that is covered by your insurance. We have done many of those jobs where they've had hail damage and the insurance company comes in and says, okay, you need a new roof. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pay, they will actually pay us to take the panels off and put them back on. So insurance claims haven't been a problem. Where there's an issue is if you decide to put solar panels on a roof that's old, that's a terrible idea. Because you're gonna be paying us 5 years down the road to take them off out of your own pocket and put it back on. So that's one of the things we do is we look at your roof and we just go, you know, how old is this? Maybe you should get a new roof first. And the problem from a business standpoint is we've done that before. And the customer says, well, I don't have money for both a new roof and solar panels. And I go, you need a roof, you know, maybe come back to us if you run into some money or whatever it may be. But yeah, be careful of that. If you have a solar company come out and look and you know your roof's old, and they said it'll be fine, no big deal. Our general rule of thumb is if it's over 10 years old, we want to look at it. And if it's over 15, unless it's one of these new, you know, they say it's a 50-year roof, we still want to look at it to make sure. Because I don't want you to call me back in 5 years and go, can you take this down and put it back up? And I go, yeah, but it's not cheap, you know.
So what's the downtime for taking the panels down and putting them back up, and how much does that cost?
So to take them down takes us about half a day. And to put them back up takes about it depends on average system, about a day. So what we do is we take them down, and then right after us comes in your roofer that fixes everything. And as soon as they're done, we're back there within a week to put them back up. Cost wise, depends a little bit on how many panels, but we're doing one right now that's 22 panels, and I think it's $4,000. Take them down and put them back up. 4,000. But again, if it's a hail damaged roof, the insurance company covers all of it. The other thing about hail is, just so you know, people ask this, what about hail hitting the solar panels? Can they break them? The answer is yes. I have never seen one broken by them, ever. They're rated at golf ball size hail at a certain speed. We haven't had hail anywhere in the city. You know, the hail, when it generally hits the city, it hits a neighborhood size area that's really damaging. I haven't heard of one single solar panel being replaced due to hail in the last 10 years in the city.
And so is there an increment of increase in the cost of insurance when you have the?
No, now I guess I can't speak for all the insurance companies, but everybody that we've ever put panels on, some of them tell their insurance company, some don't. And the ones that have told their insurance company, there's been no rate increase. Now, Florida's a different story. Florida says, no, we're not covering them, because in Florida, when they have those hurricanes come through, it's ripping the house apart. And that's just one more thing they got to pay for. But here, the damage is it's so rare that I haven't seen an insurance company come in and say, we're not covering, but we're going to charge you more for your insurance because of it. I'm not saying that can't happen in the future. I just will tell you that I have not seen that from any insurance company yet.
Yeah, two things. One is, we're in a condo. That's the other example of people that can't put on roofs. Do you work with, have you ever worked with, or do you know of condo associations?
So we haven't done anything with condos. The only reason is because I don't know that we found a condo association that says, yeah, go ahead, because generally the condo association, again, I've never had a condo, but it is generally the outside of it is
the roof is there.
So yeah, I'm not.
Paying the electric bill for the owner.
Right, I'm not saying that they won't, I just don't, we've never done one. And we've never had anybody inquire to condo because I think the reason is they just assume you can't. I don't know, we could always ask the association to see, but I don't know. Yes,
We have 330 million people in this country apparently. What percent have this apparatus in use? Of 330 million people in this column, just for numbers, 100 million homes, not counting the commercial properties. How many of the 100 million homes in the United States of America are at this point?
so I don't know the numbers, but if I had to guess, I would say 5%. It's lower it's lower than that in Columbus, but in California, you can't build a new house without solar panels. So in California, you're gonna see it on probably 20%. If you drive around Worthington though, you're gonna see it on, I'd say even in Worthington, you'll see it on 5% of the houses. So if I had to guess, again, purely speculation, I'd say 5% of the houses in the country have it.
How does the industry, your industry, whatever industry it's called, ramp up and get done what needs to be done, if apparently that's the way we need to go?
Well, I will say this, it is not the way we need to go. Solar will be an important part of our energy future, but I personally think it makes sense to put them on buildings and houses and not try to use large swaths of farmland. But it's not the only way. How are they gonna ramp up? Well, prices are coming down. There are incentives by the government to help. Right here in Pataskala, I think it's already done. They've built a giant facility to build solar panels. So they're coming in, they're ramping up the production, and that's part of the problem. If production is low, costs are high. As they get these production numbers ramped up, prices will drop.
This will kind of piggyback on it, but what percentage of houses are situated in such a manner that it can't really, it won't help them?
I would say more than 50% are good, will benefit nicely. Some are better, some are a little worse, but I would say to the point where we're gonna see a payoff that's not exorbitant. I'd say half the houses out there, and especially if you have land, because one of the things we try to do is if you have a little bit of land, if you have 5 acres, I prefer to put them as a ground mount. We can get more power production per panel. If there's no worry about if your roof fails, but again, you have to have a little bit of room to do that. So typically when we're talking Worthington, the suburbs, the city, we're talking roof mount. Yes.
Back to the condo association, I can tell you as a treasurer for 10 years, the financial proposition is the condo association has to pay for it and then amortize it through cost to the owners, but the owners pay their own electric bills, and there's no benefit to the association board for doing that, unless they just want to really get into the whole idea of saving money. It's the same way with electric EV charging stations.
Right. The only way that I see that can work for a condo association is they said, okay, the roof is ours, but the panels are yours. If you want to put them on, you pay for them, you get the benefits from them. It's the only way I can see that.
They're not gonna do that.
I would imagine. I would imagine.
It's new, it's for new builds. There's a fine.
Any other questions for Brian?
I have a last,
Okay,
sir, in your industry, what do the people in your industry feel is the lifetime? How long are we going to be able to use and need to use coal, anthracite coal, not soft coal, not bituminous, natural gas, and et cetera, those portions of the fossil fuels? Because we can't do all this at once.
No, we can't, absolutely.
We're gonna be very dark. This is
Yes,
gonna be
and
very
we,
dark.
again, we need fossil fuels, especially in the short term. We need nuclear.
Right,
That's more of a political problem, I think, than anything else. Two things have to happen. The price, economically, it needs to make sense, right? We need to be we're gonna move to more green when green makes financially more sense. I don't know. I don't know. The government, good or bad, are doing things to make it harder for coal, making it a little harder for natural gas. They're doing what they can to make it greener. Is that a good thing or bad thing? I don't know. I would imagine in the long term, it's a good thing. In the short term, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But eventually, I mean, the answer is eventually we need renewables because we will run out. Now, it may not be 30 years like they keep saying. It may be a few hundred years before we run out.
Will be here.
Right, right. But our kids will, our grandkids. So, yes.
How do the utilities look at this? They calculate they need to maintain backup power for 100% of their potential load, or do they figure they can reduce some of their construction costs, the more people implement solar?
Well, solar is not a fix until we get batteries in place. So the problem with solar right now for the grid, for the companies is we produce power during the day when the sun's up. So at night, we're not producing, we're not helping. We need to have that strong base load, whether that's nuclear, coal, natural gas. But batteries would be a fix, especially if the next round of batteries come through and we find a really inexpensive way to store the power. Then solar could be the solution to all of our energy needs at that point. But right now it's not. We have no way to store that energy the sun produces. So our stored solar energy right now is fossil fuels. It's been plants, it's been broken down. That's where our stored solar energy is. Yes,
I have an answer to that question.
sure.
About my last consulting job, I helped a friend do an analysis of Mexico's electricity system. And my friend was the real expert, and he said, you need to back up your solar power
Yes.
and wind power, both of which are inherently variable.
Yes,
You have to back it up with at least, we could say 1 gigawatt of solar power. You have to back it up with half a gigawatt of conventional power, coal, whatever. And then about storage, the thing to keep in mind there, you express the trade-off well, the fossil fuel, the anthracite coal or nuclear or whatever, can be substituted for with batteries. The problem is that at present, storing energy in batteries costs about 30 times.
yeah, it's expensive.
It's very
Yep.
expensive.
So, but the thing about batteries, everything in the solar industry, batteries are innovating the quickest because it's in everything we use. So I'm hoping, as we come up with some more chemistries, we're getting away from lithium, we'll go to silicone, we'll do solid state, that will drop the price quickly. As with anything we do, right? I mean, it's amazing. The price of TVs now it's just a joke compared to what they were 50 years ago. So hopefully batteries can do the same thing. Will it? I don't know. I mean, they're definitely going to come down in price. Will they come down enough? I don't know.
I would say come back to me when they do.
Well, now the thing to think though is the one thing to keep in mind with solar though, this may not be a fix for the global world, but it could be a fix for your pocketbook. So that is something to keep in mind. Will it fix the world? No. Will it help? Perhaps, but can it help your pocketbook? Can it help keep your power up if the grid were to fail? Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
It was
you.
very interesting.
I sure will.
Yeah. Okay, now we have a raffle.
Okay, now we're talking about green.
Now we're gonna go green.
Okay. We've got 21 in the weekly, and we have 494, almost $500 for the April phase.
Let it ride.
Lisa. Draw a number. No, draw my
I'm
number.
trying to pick a winner. There you go.
You're busy.
Okay. Last 4 digits, 6992. There you go. I picked the winner.
Oh, that's a conflict of interest. I'm sorry.
Oh, you gotta put that back here. Sorry, I dropped your ticket. Okay.
First time. No.
You didn't buy a ticket, you're not a gambler. People.
And probably couldn't be bought off. It's 6996.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
It's a travel day.
Yeah.
Right.
Got the card?
Yeah, right here.
Judy, how's it?
Pick a good one. Tulip clubs, well done.
Almost like these.
Okay, please stand and let's do the fairway test.
Yeah.
On behalf of all the things we think, say, and do, first,
True.
third, fourth, are adjourned.
And I would like. Yeah, like we'll stop out.
I'll send you. I'll send it again.
Okay.
So you have to draw.
Yeah, I know right where it's at, so.
Yeah, it's very. Traffic with there, like, right, trust.
Absolutely.